Hello everybody, I'm here in my noisy patio, outdoor patio, sitting on this really hot day. It's really hot today, but I have a ceiling fan that cools me down. I prefer to be outside than inside. I don't care how hot it is. Just it's summer, that's where we should be, right? I wanted to talk a little bit about the budget justification because in the last video I just uploaded, I discuss issues of IRB and human subjects, just the ethical treatment of participants. So I didn't have something prepared for a budget justification, so I thought I'd discuss that with you today. Again, my goal is to spend more time in class working on your project and do videos to lecture. That way you can actually focus on what you're doing more than what I'm doing. This is an example of an old budget justification. In writing the budget justification, the key is to justify every expense that you plan to have. So really, if you think about it, you want to account for all the money that you will be spending if you receive the grant. That includes any personnel, any equipment, software, licenses, whatever it is that you may need, payment to participants. So in this particular grant application, there were no participant payments. So this is based on a secondary data analysis. However, as the principal investigator, I needed to be paid. So now we've written other versions of this grant where there are different expenses, but this is good enough for now. So first of all, we had me as the principal investigator. You'll notice that next to my name we have percentage of effort. This indicates what percentage of my time will be used. So if you think about 40-hour week, it's 35% of that 40 hours per week. So we could take a calculator and multiply 40 times 0.35. This would give me 14 hours of my week would be devoted to that grant. And so these estimates have to be made. Now it's interesting that this is kind of a high percentage, this is a high percentage, 35%, but in general you don't want to have more than 25% of your salary covered. The final grant that I received, I have it at 25%. So this is probably a preliminary budget that we were working on. We have to translate that budget into calendar months. If we multiply 12 months, so at that time I was a 12-month employee, by 0.35 we get 4.2 calendar months. So these are all terms that are used in grant writing, so you have to become familiar with them. The point here is that you want to justify the amount of effort you're spending. I've been dealing with this issue now at LaSalle with my newer grant because LaSalle hasn't had as much experience with such grants, the NIH type grants, where we have to calculate our time, so our teaching takes a part of our time. So the point is that all of our time has to add up to 100%. Like I can't go to 120%, I have to be at 100%. So if I do 35% on a grant, as is written here, that means I only have 65% left for teaching and other duties. So one has to account for one's time very well. And of course you have to justify your budget, so here I have to talk about what kind of things I'll do. So including writing manuscripts, analyzing the data, presenting them at conferences, etc. So you can see that I had all that stuff listed here. I'll of course post this for you to read. I also needed another computer, so we had funds. So you can see under equipment, we had funds for a laptop, $1,500 are requested, for a multiple core processor laptop to conduct mixture modeling using blah blah blah. This is the software that I use for doing the kind of research I do, so I need a specific computer that can handle that. Travel to national conferences. Travel estimate is interesting because you want to cover all the expenses possible. So I put $3,600 to attend 2 national conferences, so that's $1,800 per conference, which would cover registration, airfare, meals, and lodging. In some cases, I will detail this much more clearly, like how much I'm assuming for flights, sometimes how much I'm assuming for airfare, or for meals, lodging, etc. and registration. But here I did it a little bit more broadly. It depends on the organization you're working with. Some organizations require much more hefty accounting. By the way, it's really hard to move money from one budget to another without getting approval from the grantor. Like with the National Institutes of Health, if I decided that I wanted to go from say 25% to 35%, that would require approval first before I can just increase my salary, because why not just increase my salary or a proportion of the money that's going towards my salary. I have other materials and supplies. I had notice that we had computer under equipment, and other materials and supplies include licenses for software and software itself. Here I use this software called M+, which I have to justify because this is the type of software I need in order to complete my study. So that's what I did here. I had to justify what it is. And finally, this is an area that you wouldn't have in this particular study that you're working on for our project, I should say. But in this case, I have a subcontract, so we're paying Dartmouth for one of the researchers there to work with me, and that researcher required 15% effort to work on the grant, so I had to write this out as well and justify that individual's involvement and all of her wonderful skills. Those, of course, make budgets a little bit more complicated. No, I didn't ask you to write a budget. I just wanted you to know what it's like to do the budget justification. I never write a budget. I just do the justifications. I let the smart accountants handle the budget. All right, that's all I wanted to do, was introduce you to what a budget justification is, so that you'll understand better that you can't just say, I want, $50,000 without justifying what you're going to do with it. Because if you don't justify what you're going to do with it, you're probably not going to get it. People won't trust you. The grantors won't trust you. All right. Thanks a lot. Bye. Let's stay cool, all right? I'm trying myself.